Hello, everybody, and welcome to your Business Continuity Plan webinar brought to you today by Soaring Falcon Accountancy and presented by Alex Falcon Huerta. My name is Debbie Spooner and I will be your moderator today, overseeing the managing of the webinar and ensuring that you guys are all able to see and hear the screen succinctly, and just monitoring any questions that you may raise with us. This webinar will be recorded and we will be sharing this recording after. And any questions that you do have, please do continue to share with them throughout and we will collate them at the end for our question section. For those of you who are not familiar with GoToMeeting, at the top right hand side you will see your control panel, and in there is a little orange arrow which will enable you to expand and collapse your panel. You can also view and select your audio. You are all on mute for the duration of this session, so please do type questions in the question box, and handouts will be available for those people who request after this session today. So without further ado, let me introduce you to today's presenter, Alex Falcon Huerta, owner and MD of Soaring Falcon. Thank you, Alex, and over to you for today's session.
Thanks, Debbie, and thanks everyone for making time to listen to this important webinar. We appreciate that these are unprecedented times with great uncertainty and concern for you all. We want you to know that we're here for you, albeit remotely, to give you whatever support you can to get through these difficult times. We want you to get through this crazy period, but also to be geared up for the future. So with this core purpose in mind, we're here to share with you the practical things you can do to mitigate the impacts of the current COVID-19 pandemic on your business and family. So before we kick off, I just want to give you a thought for the day from JFK. The two Chinese characters are A and G. So regardless of the fact that JFK was not entirely correct in his translation, the mistranslation is now so widely spread it's even used by some native Chinese speakers. What we are faced with now is most certainly a crisis. At the time, it is of real opportunity, an opportunity for you to take a leadership role in helping your team and at their time of greatest need, to be proactive in communicating with clients, to make a plan for a sustainable and resilient business, or in the worst case, a plan to exit your business with minimum negative impact on you and your team. So with that in mind, the agenda will be the required mindset you'll need in these difficult times, to build a plan for yourself, your team, and your business, to outline of support available, your next steps, questions that you may have, but I will recommend that you do take notes and you submit questions via the GoToWebinar in the chat section, and as Debbie mentioned earlier. So to put us all in the right frame of mind, I want to share the most powerful business model I've seen, and it's called ORBED. In time of crisis, we have two choices about how we can respond. We can act below the line or act above the line. Below the line actions would go something along the lines of blame somebody else for bringing a virus into this country, make excuses why there is nothing we can do about it, or go into denial that there's even an issue, putting ourselves, our team, and our business at risk. Or we can act above the line. We can take ownership that we can and we must do something to protect our business and protect ourselves and our business, even if that means closing our business, which I know some of you have had to do. Recognize that we are accountable to our team and our customers at their time of greatest need. Take responsibility for protecting ourselves, our team, our customers, and our business from these difficult times. The fundamental mindset here is that we have a choice and we mustn't take on a victim mindset in these times. As well as acting above the line, we also have to consider who we need to be in these times. In other words, our personal brand and identity. If we are not careful, we could act like this. When I have got through these pressing client matters, I will be able to do things like make a plan to get through this and talk to my team about what all this means from them so that I can be a great leader of my business and my team. A far better mindset to have is the other way round. In order to be a great leader of my business, I need to do things like update my plan and get proactive with my team and my customers during this time of crisis. Then I will have the most successful business I can in these difficult times. The next mindset is from the Richard Branson and serves a great reminder as to where we need to place our most energy right now. Think about who we need to look after at these times. First and foremost is about you, the business owner. But we also need to think about our team. We also need to look after our customers, and we need to look after the business. So what we find as owners are that all of our energy is split between the team, the customers, and the business itself, with very little time to look after ourselves. Sir Richard Branson gives us a very useful model to follow. Clients do not come first, employees come first. If you take care of your employees, they will take care of the customers. So if we have a team, even if they are contractors, make sure as an owner that you're doing whatever you can to look after them. By looking after your team well, they will be well equipped to look after your customers. You might find an example. Talk to your team about a pivot in your sales plan to cope with these challenging times. Maybe a new product or a service, and the team can pass this message on to existing or new customers. If you pivot your sales message and your team look after and find new customers, then those customers will look after your business. And if this new sales plan is in place, the business plan will look after you as the owner. So I appreciate this may seem oversimplified, and some of you on this webinar won't have a team. The point here is that it all starts with you as the owner. If you act above the line, remember who you need to be and make a new plan now, it should start with your team, as you can then look after your customers, etc., so you don't get overwhelmed. If you don't have a team, the plan needs to start with your customers, who will then look after the business. We want to help you build this plan as the business owner. So your resilience. So knowing that the Sir Richard Branson model starts with you as the business owner, let's talk about what you can do to improve your resilience right now. Your well-being is critical. Remember to put the oxygen mask on yourself first. Make sure you stay healthy, get as much sleep as you can, keep your exercise going, and get support if you need it. Select your information sources carefully and try to minimize time spent on social media about this issue to stay calm, stay connected with friends and family, and stay positive. If you're over 18 years old and you have the mental ability to make financial, property, and medical decisions for yourself, you can arrange for someone to make these decisions for you in the future. These legal authority is called a property and financial affairs lasting power of attorney. And one for decisions about your daily routine, washing, dressing, eating, etc., medical care, moving into a care home, and life-sustaining medical treatment. This is called a personal welfare lasting power of attorney. It can be used if you're unable to make your own decisions. So it's generally recommended that you set up both welfare LPA and a property and financial affairs LPA at the same time. Many people do this while reviewing or revisiting their will. You may be able to use the same solicitor. And so you can apply for these the power of attorney on the government website on HMRC. Alternatively, you can contact the Office of the Public Guardian for an application pack. So now is a good time to make sure that you have these EPAs in place, or review who you've appointed in the past to make sure that person is still capable and willing to act. Making changes around this is quite critical. Your team resilience. Your team members will be worried about job security. The government has stated that there will be job losses during this time. Be open with your team, share relevant parts of your plan and be honest about the potential impact the pandemic will have on your business. If there are to be job losses, ensure you obtain legal and HR advice on the best way to handle the restructuring and the redundancy process. It's unlikely that people remain in some form of lockdown in the coming weeks and possibly months. Decide what additional resources you need to provide your team with if you haven't already. Consider how you can best utilize technology, as we have, to maintain communication. Make sure you have a COVID-19 policy in place and keep your team safe. Let them know what support is available to them. We'll cover government detail in more shortly. So your customers. The support you offer your customers now will impact the support your customers give you in the future. Customers need to be reassured that you're still operating and that you're taking specific measures to mitigate their exposures to the virus. Your policy should cover the steps your business is taking to protect your customers. Share this information with them to offer reassurance that you're taking every practical step to reduce and protect both your customers and your team. So review your trade of terms and update the terms to reflect your changing business practices. Share your updated terms of trade with your customers, highlighting key changes. In particular, review your payment terms and your delivery terms. Remember to enforce your terms of trade at this time. Don't let customers avoid paying you, as this could have a material impact on the sustainability of your business. Just as we mentioned earlier, put an oxygen mask on yourself. It is essential that you make sure you have sufficient cash coming into your business from your customers. Cash is the oxygen your business needs to survive. So we will talk more about cash flow management shortly, as there are always things that you can do here. So your suppliers. To improve your cash flow, make a plan for dealing with your suppliers. The payment arrangements negotiations, where you can negotiate new terms with your suppliers. If you can pay upfront, ask for a prompt payment discount. If you don't have sufficient cash flow to pay upfront, ask to pay over a longer period of time. Ask if it's possible to hold stock on consignment, where you only pay suppliers what stock you have sold. Purchasing policies. Discuss your supplier's supply chain and the measures they're taking to continue supply. Ask about their contingency plans for what may happen if deliveries can't be made or supplies can't be obtained. Consider whether you need to order additional stock while it's still available. If it's unlikely to become scarce in the coming months, reduce your current minimum reordering levels and consider whether there are some items of stock you should not be reordering at all. Return of stock. Review your supplier contracts in regard to the return of stock. Discuss whether you can return excess stock that isn't selling. Ensure contracts are updated if any terms change. If you cannot return stock, then consider discounting slow-moving stock to convert it back to cash, and don't reorder that same stock item. Contracts. Review the contracts you have with suppliers. If there is a clause which would allow you to cancel orders or change the terms in this current crisis, if you cannot meet the terms of your contract, seek legal advice and renegotiate with the supplier. Review all other key contracts with lessors of premises, your vehicles and equipment. You may need to renegotiate significant terms. Do not assume that these contracts cannot be renegotiated. In most cases, they can. as your current cash flow and ability to meet financial obligations may be significantly impacted, some of these key providers will be prepared to renegotiate terms. So your business, the cash conversion cycle, one of the most important ways to improve your business is to shorten your cash conversion cycle. In other words, get your cash quicker into your account. So let's take a look at a real life example, a wholesaler. The wholesaler buys stock from the supplier and on average must pay the suppliers 45 days after buying the stock. The stock doesn't sell the moment it comes into the warehouse. Some stock sells quickly, other stocks take longer, and eventually some stock has to be discounted to get it all to move at all. On average, stock is held for 60 days. When the stock is sold, credit terms are provided to the customer, but a number of customers are not observing those credit terms. On average, it takes 60 days for a customer to pay. So now we can calculate the cash conversion cycle. 60 days average stock holding plus 60 days to get paid by the customers, less 45 days credit provided by the supplier, equals 75 days to convert inputs to cash. In difficult times such as this, we need to ensure that you have a plan in place to shorten this cash conversion cycle. This is a process we recommend you do as part of your business continuity plan. Using the numbers from your most recent management accounts, we can work out the above numbers and calculate your cash conversion cycle. From there, we can discuss with you how we can work together to shorten this cash cycle and free up more cash. For example, if your debtors are 50,000 and your turnover, your income is 500,000 per year, a 10-day reduction in your cash conversion cycle is worth 13,700 to you. That is cash that you could really do with now, I'm sure. So part of completing your business continuity plan is to work out how to free up cash as much as possible using this model. Another area of focus needs to be on your business 101 cycle in these difficult times. As we often tell you, there's a massive difference between profit and cash. Profit is what you pay tax on. Cash is the oxygen your business needs to survive. What is so important here is that as well as improving your cash conversion cycle, you make plans to maximize your profit, at the same time finance your business correctly. So let's walk through this business 101 cycle. Starting at the top, as an owner, you introduce cash into the business to buy assets. You may also borrow cash to purchase assets. Those assets are used to generate profit. How you increase profit is to improve revenue or sales. Very difficult in these challenging times, but still possible. So increase margin or efficiency or trim overhead expenses. So now is a very good time to be looking closely at potential new revenue lines, new potential customers, a pivot in your sales strategy, or what you can do to avoid losing existing customers. At the same time, you ought to be looking at how you can improve your margins via efficiency gains, better purchasing, reduction in errors and wastage, or simply discounting with products or services that have a poor margin. Once you've derived your profit and you need to turn that into cash, profitable businesses can and do go broke even at times like this. You need to be looking at how you can maximize your cash flow using strategies to get paid quicker, reduce stock or work in progress, or by negotiating better terms with your supplier. Now is not the time to be slow or lenient on debt collection. We need the money to keep spinning around in the economy. Likewise, you need to be very careful about reordering stock. Can you operate with less stock, or are there items that are likely to be in short supply? Other areas to help improve cash flow through better terms with your financiers. You can go into interest only, for example, on some of your loans, I'll cover some of the more finances on loans and interest a bit later. Likewise, there are many tax concessions available right now to use, so you'll have to make sure you have access to them. Again, I'll go through some of these in more detail shortly. So, I've talked about your cash conversion cycle and your business 101 model. Let's look again at the 7 ways to grow your business. That way you may have seen before, we want to use the model to find other areas to focus on that might reduce the negative impact of a downturn. So, client retention. What can you do to delight your clients right now? Many of them will also be struggling, so stay in contact and see how you can hold onto their business wherever possible. Lead generation. You should always be looking for new avenues to attract potential new customers. Increasing your market using cost-effective methods such as social media could be a great way to attract new business. Prospect conversion rate. Make sure you are making it as easy to buy from you as possible. Without giving your value product away, you can offer delivery or an online ordering option at this time, which I know many of you have done. Transaction value. Can you encourage your customers to buy more from you? Are there other supporting products or services that they are not aware of? Transaction frequency. What can you do to encourage customers to come back more regularly? For example, locking in the next purchase order, meeting at the end of the current transaction, or at least asking for a referral for a new customer if your work is more than a one-off nature. Reduce cost of sales. What can you do to preserve your current margins? Can you reduce errors or rework, get a better price from your suppliers, or focus on the products or services that give you the greatest margin? Reduce overheads. Which costs can be removed from your business altogether right now? Travel, entertainment, vehicle costs could be a good place to start. So, bank assistance. Often, one of the highest overheads in business are interest costs. This can be a massive drain on any business at this time. So here's a list of ways the bank or your other financiers could be able to help you. So increasing temporary overdraft facilities. A lot of banks are offering free overdraft credits at the moment and are not charging you. So try to maximize that as much as possible. Review and extend trade credit. Although people are in a difficult position, they might be willing to extend trade credit with you, knowing that eventually they'll get their money. Asset finance. There is a difference between loans and asset finance. If you've got assets to finance, you may be able to move them from a loan to an asset finance, which frees up time for you later to borrow money to maybe potentially pay employees. A loan repayment holiday, deferments of payments and or interest only terms. So in this area, lots of companies are allowing repayment holidays and deferments, so get in touch with those. Extension of term lending periods, short-term and hardship loans and short-term mortgage holidays. If you get in touch with all of your lenders, they will be willing to help you through hardship. And business credit card options, just double check the interest on those, just make sure they're low, make sure that you've got a significant or an amount to live off if you're surviving on your credit card at the moment, but just speak to them so that they can either freeze interest or defer it. Part of our business continuity plan should be a discussion with your bank or financiers about how they can help you. As an independent advisor, we can talk to you first about the best options for you so that you can potentially go to the bank with. We do work with other partners, so you can get in touch with us about alternative funding. The business insurance. Whilst most business insurance policies are likely to have exclusions for COVID-19 type pandemics, it is important that you review your business insurances now. It's important that you check that your insurances are all up to date. It's something I've had to do recently. And again, this is an area we can offer you some independent advice about before you contact your broker or insurance agent. So we do work with other brokers. Again, something that you can get in touch with us about. So the big area, the government emergency support, lots of interesting conversation about what the government are doing to help all the small business owners at the moment. So you've got your VAT deferment payment. So all payments will be automatically deferred until the end of the financial year. So from now up until the 30th of June, you've got until March 2021 to make those VAT payments. You just need to ensure that you can put money aside to fulfill those liabilities. Otherwise, if you feel you get to the end of the period and you still don't have the funds, it's really important to still make that contact with HMRC so you've got a note on the system. You've got the increase in working tax credits and universal credit. So working tax credits will increase to £3,040 per year. Universal credit allowance increases by £1,000 for the next year. Self-employed can now access universal credit at a rate equivalent to the statutory sick pay for employees. Changes to statutory sick pay is now available from day 1 other than day 4. Those who follow advice to stay at home and who can't work as a result will be eligible for statutory sick pay. Coronavirus job retention scheme for furloughed workers. So this allows the UK employers to access financial support to continue paying part of their employees' salaries, where they would otherwise have been made redundant because of the coronavirus crisis. All UK businesses are eligible for the payment of 80% of the furlough employees' wage costs, up to £2,500 per month. Employers must designate affected employees as furlough workers and notify them of this change, then submit information to HMRC. Employers can choose whether to top up up to 100%, funding the 20% of the furloughed employees' wages. These payments can be backdated to the 1st of March 2020. This does now include directors. We are still waiting on news about any information on dividends, but the portal hasn't been opened yet. They're expecting that to be opened at the end of April. Actually, funds with the self-employed to come in June. Coronavirus business interruption loan scheme. So loans to businesses, which is interest-free for 12 months. So there are lots of banks that are offering support around this. Again, we partner with alternative funding who can reach out to the banks or to lenders quicker than potentially your direct bank itself. So it's something to get in touch with us with. Business rates holiday. For retail, hospitality and leisure businesses for the year, there's a £10,000 cash grant. So the council will be providing letters to people who are eligible, but there are forms available online with certain councils. So it's best to get online and find out if that form is available and have the information ready so you can complete the form as early as possible. So moving on to the next steps. So we've set out for you the mindsets that you need to have in these difficult times. What do you need to do to look after yourself, your team, and your customers? We've shared some ideas how you can improve your sales, your margin, your profit, and your cash flow, even if an improvement is slowing the speed of decline. We've shared in general terms what support is available from the government and other sources. Now it's essential that you decide what you're going to do. Clearly, doing nothing is not an option. Now's the time to put the oxygen mask on yourself and make a plan to get through the crisis. Even if that plan involves closing your business, you're better off to make that decision sooner rather than later. Is to surround yourself with experts like us, like your bank, your legal advisors, or your HR advisors. We are all here to help you. Remember to stay above the line and live into the be, do, have mindset. Focus on what you can do. With this in mind, we've developed a business continuity plan and guide. which I'll show you briefly. You should already have a copy of this plan as part of your invitation to the webinar. If you don't have it, let us know and we'll get a copy to you. So the example of the business continuity plan, just briefly on here, the first part of it talks about your well-being, your family first, your personal budget. There's lots of information that we go through in a great amount of detail, so we can build your business plan and we can plan for the future and plan for things that potentially could happen that can protect you, so against things that could, like now. So we will go through things like your cash flow forecast and your cash management, through the 101 cash cycle, the government support packages. This is backed up with a full in-depth guide to yourself, so that you can keep track of this plan and we can provide that support to yourself. So we can and want to help you in these challenging times. And as I've discussed, our recommended strategy is to complete a business continuity plan. That's why we've developed a plan template to guide you, to help you to do this. So we've got 4 options to complete the plan. The first plan is to meet with us online so that we can do this together, either as one of up to 4 hours, or potentially do it over 2 hours on the shorter online sessions. So the advantage of this approach is that we'll be able to make sure that you get all of the entitlements to support available. We also believe that combining your expertise with our expertise will result in a far better plan. So we've reduced our fee to 50% of the normal current rates to support you in this with this particular option, and also payment plans that do not start now at all. They start in July/September. So the second option is where we share the plan template and guide with you, so you can complete the first draft of the plan on your own, and then we'll have an online meeting with you for 60 to 90 minutes to finalize the plan. This option suits people who feel comfortable preparing plans themselves and are not inundated with other things to do right now. The risk with this approach is that with everything else going on right now, you may not get around doing the plan. Again, our fees for this service is 50% discounted than the normal fees. The third option is where we share the plan template and guide with you, and you do the work yourself. So our concern around this approach is that while it's free, you may miss out on opportunities to maximize tax and other entitlements that you may be entitled to. So there may be opportunities to improve your cash flow that we can identify if we work together on options under options 1 or 2. And the fourth option is the complimentary meeting for the people who are non-Soaring Falcon clients. This is open to everybody. So anybody who is not a client, please feel free to get in touch. If you want your complimentary meeting, that's absolutely fine. So we appreciate it might be difficult to commit to spending money at the time of crisis. So that's why we've made the cost of these options at 50% our normal rate. And more importantly, we want you to be able to claim and maximise your entitlement to the government and other support right now and without delay. We expect the entitlements you will get to be far greater than our fee. And more importantly, it's about making your plan as quickly as possible. And so we're here to help. So moving on, obviously we've got questions. If we just go into the chat, and Debbie, I'll just hand it over to you.
Brilliant, and we certainly do. Thank you, Alex. I don't know about anybody else, but for me, coming in and supporting Alex in this as a small business owner myself and taking the time this evening, I know that I'm going to go to bed feeling a little bit more secure about what my options are, and the fact that I've got an opportunity to take some control back here. So I feel very reassured about what is available and also what isn't, and so I can start making some plans in and around that. We have a few questions. We've actually got quite a few coming through. So as I said at the start, if we don't get a chance to answer your questions, we will be collating them. I will be sharing those with Alex, and then she'll be coming to you all on a one-to-one basis. So the first question is around, just to reiterate, around the VAT deferral. Is that optional or is it compulsory?
So with the VAT deferment, if you're able to pay your liability, then you can make those payments. I think what HMRC were actually trying to do is stop like hundreds of calls coming in. So that's why they've done it as automatic deferment. So if you didn't make your payment, they're not going to penalise you. So if you can afford to pay it, I will always recommend to just try and make small contributions, but don't feel too stressed if you can't afford it. But I think it's there more to save HMRC's lines where they're inundated with employees and self-employment.
Sure. Another question, and it's around the directors and the furloughing. So, and they're just checking because there was a little audio skip at the time that you were giving this, unfortunately. So let's hope that the audio doesn't skip now. When you were talking about the 80% for the furloughed workers, just for clarity, does this or does this not now include directors?
So initially it didn't, and then later on HMRC did release some news to say that it does now include directors, and you now can furlough directors.
Okay, and there's some guidelines in and around that that you'd be able to share with us.
Yeah, around the directors.
Yeah, it's not as simple as that. They've still ring-fenced certain bits, and then we've also got do family who are employees, do they qualify for this area too?
So if they're employees, obviously, and they're genuine employees, and they can be furloughed on the system.
Okay, cool.
Have an income.
Brilliant. We have, again, if you want to go into further detail on this, we suggest these people contact you to talk about their individual situations on this, because we don't want to give a broad sweep answer here. Everybody who's asking these questions, you will all have your own personal situations in and around this, so it is best to reach out to you and check in.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, but if I'm happy to answer questions, or if people want to contact me through my website or just telephone me, I don't really mind. It's a difficult time. I understand people have lots of questions. That's why we've put this webinar together, to be fair, because I was inundated with queries and questions. So it was just important to push this out and just give some support. Yeah,
brilliantly. We've got, this is a good philosophical one, and I think you've covered a lot of this already, but somebody who's obviously keen to get moving, what's the one thing that we can learn from this, and how can we safeguard ourselves for the future?
So I guess with that question, it's a really good one, is I think it's really important to make sure that you keep on track of your cash flow, and you're keeping tight on that as much as possible, to make sure that you have your own plan for your own business in place and you know exactly where you are. It's really easy for director or a business owner to kind of have it all in their head, but now it's quite critical to actually have the plan in place. So I guess with the business continuity plan, I think that's probably a really good option. But I think to safeguard yourself is just to try and keep as much liquid cash in your account as possible, so that you don't feel so stressed, I guess, around that area, and just to keep track of all of the like the suppliers and things that we talked about in the webinar.
Mm-hmm. Cool. And somebody else, I'm not based in Bedford, but could you be my accountant?
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, so even though we are based in Bedford, we are a cloud business, I guess. So we can take on clients, like locally or nationally. We've got most of our clients actually come from Australia or New Zealand, and so yeah, it doesn't really matter where you're based. We can take care of you and get you through this crisis.
Brilliant. Brilliant, lovely. Okay, I think we have got a lot coming through, and I appreciate everybody's interaction on this. So thank you very much. We could be here another half hour, and one of the first things that Alex said at the start of this session was about your well-being and making sure that we all, where we can, get enough sleep and be rested, so that we're able to actually deal with all of the changes and the challenges that are occurring for us all. So Alex, I'm going to hand over to you. Like I say, don't worry, keep those questions coming so that we've got them, and Alex and her team will come back to you on a one-on-one basis, and may even do a whole complete sheet to share with everybody on the back of this. So Alex, thank you for inviting me to support you on this. I've learned a lot, and it's been absolutely invaluable for me as well. So thank you very much, and I'll hand back over to you now.
Thank you. So thank you for making the time to attend this webinar. I appreciate that your time is valuable right now. As it's late, we try to shorten this. So we hope we've given you plenty of ideas to think about and some clear options for how we can support you. And before we go, I thought I'd share this quote, one of my favorite authors. Anyone can lead when the plan is working. The best lead when the plan falls apart. Robin Sharma. So let's make sure you have a new and better plan to get through this difficult time. Thank you once again for joining us on this webinar. Once again, our contact details are hello@soaringfalcon.co.uk, or visit our website. It's www.soaring-falcon.co.uk. We've got our contact details on there, so I look forward to hearing from you.